In the next 5 to 10 years, the only way to secure your family's income is to actually have your own personal customer base. If you're working for someone else, you're really putting yourself at risk. The way to secure your future is to have 1,000 of your own customers that know you. I'm getting calls all the time from tradies who have got no work and are really suffering. And everyone's busy, everyone's got plenty of work. And the reason for that is property maintenance.
So welcome to Robert Young to the Gyms podcast. Now, Robert, we're going to talk about gyms building maintenance in New Zealand as well. Now, for those who don't know, Robert's been around for many years. He actually is a franchisor in multiple divisions and looks after some divisions for us in New Zealand. And you're sort of the tradesman. So when I think of New Zealand and franchisees and franchisors, you're the tradesman. You're doing a whole bunch of stuff as well. And I remember coming out to meet Robert in New Zealand with his franchisees, and they all love the system and what you've been doing over there, Robert. So we've got you to talk on about building maintenance specifically today, which is something that people might not know that Gyms does in NZ. So I'm going to just first of all introduce yourself and let's talk about the opportunity with building maintenance.
So I brought new Gyms Building and Maintenance / Gyms Handyman to New Zealand 5 years ago, and we're the market leader in New Zealand now according to Google Analytics. In Wellington, we're probably the market leader, and in Christchurch, we're close to it, or at least one of the market leaders. And we're just starting to think about the regions now. It's been going really well, because what I'm seeing, particularly at the moment with the advent of AI, is that in the next 5 to 10 years, the only way to secure your family's income is to actually have your own personal customer base. If you're working for someone else, you're really putting yourself at risk. There's a lot of automation coming through. There's going to be a lot of people looking for work, because there's a lot of middle management and process-driven people out there in the business world at the moment. They're going to be coming onto the market. People who can actually fix things and actually get things done, I think, are going to be the new lawyers and accountants, while you use AI for your lawyers and accountants. The other thing I'm seeing with this, the nature of things changing, is the customers really want to pay the person swinging the hammer who's actually delivering the value. People no longer want to pay for, say, a builder and the builder's boss and the builder's boss's boss and his admin person and the marketing division. And, when a customer pays you $1, they want to pay it to the person who's actually delivering the value to them personally. So the person delivering the value and the customer, this is where the value is, and this is what's important. And the way to secure your family's financial future, particularly even in building, because there's going to be a lot of automation coming in there as well, a lot more factory involvement in actually putting up these houses, ever increasing, will only multiply exponentially in the next 10 years, I believe. So the way to secure your future is to have 1,000 of your own customers that know you, so that you got that real resilience in how many, like for instance, in the last 4 years in New Zealand, we've been pretty steady in a recession. We were just climbing out of it earlier this year, and it was looking real good. And with the situation around and the oil prices, we've slipped directly back into what was normal last year, which is, I'm getting calls all the time from tradies who have got no work and are really suffering. And everyone's busy, everyone's got plenty of work. And the reason for that is property maintenance. So property maintenance has really proven its resilience over these years. I mean, we still get the odd value add, like your decks and your kitchen renos and so on, but they've really become pretty scarce and highly competitive, where the maintenance has just got to be done. I always compare it to sort of dentistry, right? If something wrong with your tooth, the longer you wait, it's just going to cost you more. You've got to get it done now. And that's what maintenance is, and it's proven itself. So all of the guys have built businesses and their teams around the fact that there's actually quite a lot of predictable maintenance work coming in: leaky windows, roof repairs, guttering repairs and replacements, or converting internal to external gutters, all that sort of stuff, if you're unlucky to have one of those houses. And this is what's kept all the team busy, productive, and making money through this time. And of course, the next exciting thing that's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years is there will be a recovery. Houses in New Zealand have gone backwards about 25% since the recession commenced. So it's given house prices actually a bit of headroom. And it really comes down to positivity. And what I've seen in New Zealand, this is about my 5th recession or something in New Zealand, if you count COVID as one as well. When we're in recession, we often find that people think it's going to last forever. And if you remember when house prices were doing this, everyone's sort of going forever. So these things never do. And, a recovery will come. And something we're quite excited about is that there's going to be a lot of latent need. So a couple of things are going to happen in our market. Presently, a lot of builders have had no work, and they've been trying to come across to property management, found it a bit more difficult than they thought, and try to get a job somewhere, or moved off, or they do it part-time. And this is because, so there's builders coming down into property maintenance, our work. but no one knows they're there, and it's very difficult to promote yourself, especially in this market if you're starting from a cold start, where when you join us, it's like having a business that's already been open for many years. You just slot straight in. We've got too much work. I know it's not many people saying that in this market, but we've definitely got too much work, especially in Wellington and Christchurch. Our teams can't keep up down there. Most of the guys are booked months out. It's like what most people expect in an up market. We're having in a down market. So when the market turns, not only has there not been a lot of value add, everyone's been holding off on their value add. There's going to be a glut of renovations coming onto the market. Probably in a 6-month period, they'll all come on at once. And all the people that were sort of trying to survive doing sort of odd jobs, they're all going to go back to going to to building trusses all day. So at a time where there's going to be a lot more work, there's actually going to be less people, and it's going to be really interesting. And, frankly, in this business, one of the things everyone's going to want to do is put their prices up. But there's going to be so much demand, and there's actually going to be a restriction of supply, where at the moment, there's not enough demand and heaps of supply. And this especially reflects in the immigration situation. We have a lot of people like you do in Australia trying to come into our market. They pick up a hammer and say, I'm a handyman. And you just can't. It's just, if you keep making mistakes and generating complaints, your days are numbered straight off the bat. If you don't know what you're doing, don't even bother. So I don't allow anyone to join who isn't either extremely handy. And what I mean by that is there's people that grew up with a hammer in their hand. Their father was a builder. Most of the South Africans, for example, in South Africa, you fix everything yourself. Kiwis have this number 8 why mentality, and they have that in spades. And they're really good at, they can really do anything. They're very, very, very capable. So if you're not a builder, we need very, very capable people. Builders is our preference because of the commitment to the industry they've made and the level of professionalism that generally goes with them. But if you're not a builder, an LBP, a licensed building practitioner, is one of the team that you have as subcontractors.
Right.
Because when you join us, you're actually getting access to a stream of work, and how you make money from it, distribute the work, is really up to the individual. For example, we have franchisees that are lifestylers, so builders who are sick of being on the same site for months on end. They're sick of the 7 a.m. starts. They're sick of having a boss over their shoulder with a stopwatch. Mostly they're sick of doing the same thing all day. And when they come to us, they get variety. They manage their own diary. They're building an asset, which I'll come back to, because as you know, these franchises actually become very valuable, and you will want to retire one day, and getting some money at the end is a real bonus as well. So, but the variety of work that you're able to do on a daily basis, and also with our fixed fee system, you're invoicing the customer directly and the customer's paying you. It's truly your customer. And once you've used our lead system to bank up say 1,000 customers, you're really in a fantastic position, because even in a complete market meltdown, 2/3 of your customers are still going to be calling you. You've got a lot of resilience. You've got multiple sources of income because you do so many different things. And then each franchisee, the builders and non-builders, bring specialities to the team, such as, we've got a guy who's an expert in electric gates, another guy who's an expert in generators, another guy who's expert in gutter conversion. So there's guys inside your team you can specialize with, and also have your own subcontracting team, so that the business can be as big as you like and you can build an empire, or you can have a nice lifestyle, which you can do things like what I do. You drop the kids off at school most days. You're home by 5 o'clock. If the kids have something on, it's up to you to choose, right, I'll take that out of my diary. I'm going to that sports event or whatever they're doing. You want to make time for it, you can. Where when you work for, as a builder in New Zealand anyway, you're always under time pressure. The boss is always lumping the pressure on you. Everything's always a panic, because time is money, and you need to get away from that. This is one way you can do it.
Hope you're enjoying the podcast, and sorry for the interruption. This is the host, Joel Kleber. I've got a real quick favour to ask you. We've had more than 50,000 downloads across our podcast over the years, but not many reviews. So we just need people to take the time to do us a favour. And if you enjoyed the podcast, leave us a review on iTunes or Spotify. Really helps the show. Now back to the podcast. You've mentioned a few things in there, but I don't think people understand who are watching this who don't understand gyms. I think the most important thing with franchises that people get wrong is they think we take a percentage per job, and you mentioned flat fee. So can you just clarify that position? So for example, every job that, the franchisee does, we don't take 10, 15%. It's a flat fee. Do you want to talk about that?
Okay, so a percentage versus flat fee are the two fundamental franchising systems. Now, the real problem with taking a percentage is how it transforms the relationship of the franchisor with the franchisee. Because if I was taking a percentage like some of our competitors do, they take a percentage of revenue. It transforms the relationship, and this is why. If you have a customer, the customer, like the franchisors will say, hey, what a terrific service. We do your invoicing for you. But what does it actually mean? It means that the customer's paying me, not you. So whose customer is it? And also, I now control your cash flow. So the customer's paying me, I'm getting all your money, and then I'm deciding when and where you get the 95% or the 90% of what's left, which means you work for me.
Well, you're basically a subcontractor, aren't you? But you think you're a
just an
franchisee.
Employee under a different tax structure.
Yeah.
You know, you carry all the risk, and the money flows upwards, and that's typical of franchising, and that's where franchising gets a lot of its negative reputation from.
I just
this relationship.
Well, just to be clear about that, because people probably they might not know that the gyms is like that. So you mentioned a flat fee, and I think it's really important to point out. So just to be clear for anyone watching this, if you're a builder, especially, $100,000 revenue, $1 million revenue, person takes the same amount of leads, and that they're paying exactly the same fee every month.
Yeah. Well, I mean, basically, you know, when you really break it down, the fees are a couple $100 a week.
Yeah.
So my thing on that is, you know, you've got your fees paid by morning to Monday, and the rest of the week's all you.
Yeah.
So that's fixed fees, right? And the other important thing about that is that you invoice the customer. That's your customer. And because of fixed fees, and this is really important to a lot of builders, you'll bring in your own customers. You got your own network. Like for instance, if you go and help your cousin's mate, you don't really want to be paying your franchisor to do that, right? It's your customer, you decide, right? And they pay you directly, and that's your customer. And once you have a customer, whether it's through leads or you bring it yourself, there's no actual charge on that customer. If that customer calls back in 10 years, we'll say, oh, we can see you're Joel's customer here. We'll have him call you shortly. Oh, yeah, that was his name. Yeah, send him back.
Yeah.
There's no charge for that because that's your customer. So your customers are truly your own. And this is really, really important when it comes to, you know, one day you're going to want to exit, and you choose on when and where you do it, and you sell this thing for proper value because your customers are all organized on your Jimbo app, right?
Yeah.
So you got one of these on your app, and here's an example. These are inquiries on my one. Here's all your customers. So when you sell your customer one day, you can go, there you go. And the person you're selling the business to can slip it, can talk to me, can talk to the other franchisees, can see the marketing platform in place, can see how many leads we're generating. It's a very low risk business to buy. Therefore, it's a very valuable business. And not enough people talk about the exit when they're looking at any business or any franchise. It's one of the main questions you need to ask.
Sure.
Because you might actually make more money in the hand out of the exit than you make going along. Because as you're going along, you're making money, but you're spending money.
Absolutely.
But when you get that, we don't have a capital gains tax in New Zealand. So when you sell, you get, you know, that's when you get some real chunky money in your hand, and it can, you know, transform your retirement. Because most of the guys, the builders, when they're ready to do what we're doing, they tend to be the older guys. You know, 40s, 50s, that sort of thing. And my youngest guy is 32 in Queenstown. You know, he's a qualified builder. He's doing fantastic things, but he's by far the youngest guy. Yeah. So the exit does need to be considered in any business. And, and not all franchises, not only is there flat fees, a lot of franchises, you know, the exit's actually pretty hairy.
Let me just jump in there and get wrong. So just to get some more of this out for people, they might be making some assumptions. So another one is lead fees as well. So a lot of people get lead fees wrong online. It's generally people who don't own a business. You see comments around, you know, oh, you still have to pay Jim for a lead that you might not even get. So I think there's a bit of confusion about it. Like for example, if you're a subcontractor, like franchisees, sort of, I guess fake franchises, I guess in a way, head office is absolute qualifying the customer and sending it to you for sure, but you're paying 30-40% of whatever you're doing, whereas we send you leads. So you want to talk about leads and the actual concept itself so that builders are aware of that.
Yeah. So a lead, I mean, when you boil this down, right, why are you doing it for? You want to make more money. You want to freedom's a big part of it, but you want to make more money. Otherwise we'd call it play, right?
And maybe take the stress out of marketing and stuff as well, because if they're independents as well, they have to generate work for themselves. So maybe take the stress.
Well, the reliability of our marketing. So we've been doing this 30 years, right? I mean, you're here, right? That we're at the top of the tree when it comes to marketing, which is most tradies' weakness is our strength, and it's a very symbiotic relationship. But the leads, it's fixed, right? So the maximum we'll charge for a lead in New Zealand is $35, and at some points in this recession, it got as high as $36 to generate a lead. right? So basically what the guys are doing is we're generating in Auckland, for instance, we generate many hundreds of leads. Now, the first thing about a lead is it's a brand new customer, the first time only, right? So it's a brand new customer, someone no one ever dealt with before, and it's only the first time that we put you in touch. So the amount of times you fix a window latch and then you're building them a 40 grand deck 3 months later happens all the time, because people give the business to people they like and trust. So if they already know you, the repeat and referral work is the goal here.
Yeah.
So the lead fee, basically, we generate many hundreds in Auckland. Now, if Savini over in Mangere, he takes 30 leads this month, and then, I don't know, like TA over in Mount Wellington, he takes 10 because he's actually pretty busy. Then we've got, people like Corbin Borry. He doesn't really take many leads now because he's got so much repeat and referral work, which usually takes the guys about 18 months to 24 months, where the leads just become a luxury. But so each franchisee each month takes a different amount of leads and pays for what they eat out of the lead pizza. And that money goes back in to generate the next set of leads next month. And then next month they take as many as they need and as many as they don't need. And it just goes around like a washing machine.
It does.
And as you know, we don't margin any of this stuff.
No.
So it's there when you need them. And that's what we want to get everyone to. You get about 18 months to 24 months in it. You've got your repeat and referral work coming in nicely. And that's usually around that time. It's a very easy time to use your leads to then grow your team and scale if that's what you want to do.
Yep.
And again, because of fixed fees, if you want to scale or you want a lifestyle, you get 100% support from me. I'll help you design your business around what you want. We don't have a financial interest. When you take a percentage of revenue as fees, I want you to work 90 hours a week. I want you to build your team as fast as you can. I don't care about the risk of taking on all these employees, which we all know can be a real nightmare if you don't get it right. And helping the guys with HR and recruiting and firing is a big part of the coaching I give them as well. And because that's a real key if you want to scale. And about half the team are empire builders and half the team are lifestylers. But I don't care which one you are. I only have a financial interest that you're happy. And we only really have one golden rule, is you must keep your customer happy. Right? So here's the leads when you need them. Here's your fixed fees that you know what it's going to be each month and it's fixed. And you build the business the way you want it. So if you want to work 30 hours a week, have a nice lifestyle, Ricky, for instance, in Papakura, he plays golf on Saturdays. So he's not available on Saturdays. That's up to him. Right? If I was taking a percent of his revenue, I'd be like, come on, man, get back to work. Don't you want to be a millionaire and all that rubbish? So when you take a percentage of revenue, not only are you controlling the cash flow, not only are you holding most of the cards, right, because of that, and you have to give the franchisee targets. You have to motivate them. So you got to carrot and stick them. Where does that sound like? You're a boss, right? And I say to all my guys, I'm real clear about this. We had a meeting last night, and one of the guys said, I've got to leave the meeting a little bit early. Is that okay, Rob? I had to remind him, dude, you don't work for me. Right? If you want to go, you go. It's your business. You own this business. You decide what happens. They can't help it a little bit sometimes, but I've hired and fired over 100 people in my career. I've got no desire to be anyone's boss anymore.
I do think the gyms leads, or people don't understand, if you're an independent builder coming into gyms or looking at this or thinking about it, not all leads are created equal. So when someone calls for gyms directly, you're not really going to have to establish too much trust. They're calling gyms for a reason. We've been in NZ for more than 30 years now. The brand is really strong, obviously with Jim's Mowing there and the other divisions there now. So people trust it. So when someone actually comes for a lead and calls the call center via website or whatever, you don't really overly, I guess, have to sell yourself in a way. They're calling gyms for a reason. They want someone who's reliable, they can trust. If something goes wrong, there's head office in the background, because a lot of people online might say, you don't need gyms, go solo or whatever. But it's like literally you cannot create the lead as a solo with all that brand reputation as what a gyms franchisee can do because of that brand that's actually known. And the reality of it is, if you're an independent builder, especially struggling, you know how much marketing actually costs. You've got agency fees. Is the agency doing the right thing? Does anyone even know your brand? You're going to have to sell your site for a lot more. Your conversion rate's probably a lot less than gyms. So I do think brand matters, Robert. So if you're an independent guy looking at this going, geez, I'm not this, you always hear, lack of high quality leads. Well, it's because you don't have probably a brand online, right? Whereas with gyms, they are high quality leads because people are calling for a gyms franchisee. And I think that's important just for people to hear, because not all leads are created equal. Because you mentioned when we were talking about before, lead aggregator sites and all these sorts of things as well. And we have them obviously in Australia too. And leads via that aren't the same quality that comes from a gym's head office.
No, it's not. So yeah, there's actually a decline in. We have one over here, the big one here. It's called
Builderscrack, yeah.
And everyone moans about it because they're not only their fees constant, great business for them. And Builderscrack, if I wish I owned Builderscrack, what a business! What a business! It's all licensed, it's all software. They don't have to do anything.
Yes, so basically a marketplace, right, for tradies, right?
Yeah, it's a great business, but for them, but the tradies lose because you're immediately competing with 5 other people. The customer doesn't know really who's turning up, and the star ratings are all BS. So I feel sorry for the guys who are genuinely good operators. It must be real difficult getting above the noise. Because if I say I want a gate installed and I put it on Builderscrack, I'll get 5 to 10 people responding, and it's just a race to the bottom. Plus, the customer doesn't really know what's turning up because a bunch of people at communities where they all do each other's star ratings, it's all not real. Now, unfortunately, customers are becoming more aware of this, so that's not really working.
Yeah.
So when we do it, when we create a lead, first of all, you're the only one getting it, right? One lead, one franchisee. And also when we give you a lead, it's not, in fact, I was even thinking about changing our language around this. It's not really a lead, is we're giving you another customer, right? Because as I say, you might go and screw in a light bulb for someone, but you're walking around the house and you can see $40,000 worth of maintenance work the next doing. Leave them a list with an idea of what that costs to fix all the things you've seen, leave it with them. The phone's going to ring again, I promise you, especially if they like and trust you, right? You made a good impression. When you come down the driveway, you're the guy in the uniform that matches the car, with an 0800 number that they can call if they're not fully satisfied. They can see on the websites and on everything we tell them, I'm the guy with the guarantee. I'm the guy with a warranty fund. We actually had money in the bank ready to pounce if we let any customer down. We got money to throw at it, sort them out, because our collective reputation is so important. So you're that guy coming down the driveway. You're already trustworthy, and that comes from the brand. And people have seen our brand around for 30 years. It does have a major impact on that, like you're saying. So we only charge for 85% of the leads that we give people, just to allow for the tire kickers. And if you get a lead where you can't get hold of them, or that you ring them up and say, oh, we've decided not to do that, well, we refund the lead fee. So that's important too.
I was just going to point out the lead fee, though, for those who don't know the actual concept when Jim brought it in, it was because people only put themselves down who need work as well. So it's better for the customer. And if you're paying for a lead, you're going to do your best. If you're paying $37 for the Jim's lead, you're going to do your best if you're knowing you're paying $37 to try and convert the customer. And when actually Jim brought it in, this maybe been 25, 20 years ago, complaints actually pretty much halved overnight because people only took work who wanted work, and because they knew they were paying for it, they tried their best. So it's actually better for the customers, better for the franchisees, because a lot of misconceptions think lead fees is purely to make money. And as you know, Robert, because you do all the marketing for you guys, a lot of the lead fee generation, the income from it's put back into marketing for more leads anyway. So it's to serve multiple purposes. And that's something that people get wrong about gyms as well, as the lead fees and the franchise fees, which we've covered in full. So Robert, from my perspective as well, builders looking at this, the thing of it is, this sounds great. Anything else you think they should know that's relevant?
Yeah, well, the most important thing they can do is really talk to the existing builders who are franchisers. So just to be clear, Jim's Building and Maintenance, the only people who can wear this brand are the currently qualified builders, and then we have Handyman for the people who are not qualified but are truly handy. It's actually the same business. You're using the same leads. The Handyman has an LVP that's a subby. You're your own LVP, obviously. Yeah. And the other thing that's important is that we don't have a restriction on the type of work you can do. So you can specialize in renovations, gutters, carports, whatever sheds, with all that stuff. You can specialize depending on what you want, and we can massage the marketing in a local area depending on what you want. We're about to release a campaign for gutter conversions in West Auckland, for example. And then if we're testing that, and if it does well, we'll roll it out to the country. So we're doing this sort of thing all the time to keep getting new and fresh and at work and building that customer base for the customers. As far as the lead fees goes, and some of them are $22, and the max they can be is $35. But that's what it costs us to generate the damn things anyway.
Yes, and if they're an independent, they would know it to generate probably a quality like that's actually far more than what they would pay.
So with us also, and this is really important, how you control the volume of leads you take, because sometimes, the guy's often booked out. You don't need any leads. So you can accept leads from your region, your town, your territory only, turn it off, I'm on holiday. So you can do that on your handset, right? Your gym's handset, and you can do it in real time at any moment. Someone rings you up and says, I've got that 600 meters of fencing I wanted. You've got the go ahead, turn your leads off. Bink, I'm out for 6 weeks.
There are other similar franchises in NZ. And you mentioned there about
Not really.
not really, but you mentioned about speaking to franchisees prior. Now, I think this is really important for prospects to know because not a lot of franchise brands are really willing to provide lists of franchisees in the area, whereas we do. So if someone's watching this and wants to actually speak to franchisees, do you want to just talk about that? Because I think that's really important for people to know from a trust and transparency point of view, especially if you're looking at multiple franchises. Because a lot of franchises that I know in NZ and Australia, they make prospects sign something, or I've even heard of paying a deposit before they even get a list of franchisees in the area. So do you just want to talk about how open we are with that?
Yeah, I'll take it a step further. So the journey, if you like. So say you see this video and you think, oh, I need to find out. I should find out more about this. So you call the 0800 number or you go through the form and that information comes to me. I'll call you back. Well, I'll call the first part of the first call is actually qualifying you because what we need is you've got to have the trade skills, no question, right? If you're going to be in the didgeridoo business, you better know your didgeridoos, right? Otherwise, what are you doing? Right? You've got to know your subject. I would never give a franchise to someone who doesn't know what they're doing. Oh, I'm a quick learner. No way, no chance. Yeah. So anyway, we have a phone call and we sort of qualify each other a bit. And then if we both think it's a good idea, we'll move to a meeting. So because I don't want just anyone calling my franchisees. When someone joins, they don't want to be bothered either, right? They're too busy making money and running their own lives. So I have to qualify everyone first. So I have a meeting with you. It's usually an hour and a half. We get into the detail. We get to know each other. It's like a mutual job interview. And then if we're both happy with that, the next step is put you in touch with the existing guys. So I generally put them in touch because I'm such a big group of franchises. I tend to match them up with very similar franchisees, both personality-wise and also skill set and background, because the franchisees are actually out there actually doing it. I'm not, right? I've been in sales and marketing for 30 years, and I'm your sales and marketing guy now in your team, right? So that's something I always like to highlight. When you're an independent, you don't have my help. That's a pretty big deal, actually, right? If you look at the results and sharing the results with them, which is the existing franchisees. When you call the existing franchisee, you can have a proper chat with them, go and have a coffee with them, go and hang out with them for a day, go and work with them for half a day. You give them some free labor and they'll give you the wisdom of their hindsight because they're not paid or we don't incentivize them in any way.
No, we don't know.
Right. So that's important because a lot of franchises will have a couple of pet franchisees. What I do is I always introduce them to the franchisees that are going to be around where they are, right? So if you're coming into South Auckland, there's the South Auckland team. If you're going into West, there's the West team, North, South, because you want to get to know those people. Like the Hibiscus Coast team are very close and they will help each other.
Sure.
For example, so you want to talk to the people that are going to be around you and go and spend time with them. And because they're also interviewing you. If I send someone to the Hibiscus team and he goes and hangs out with Nicola, he goes and hangs out with Mullane, and Mullane goes, don't like that guy. Nicola says, he doesn't know what he's doing. That's the end of it.
Yeah.
Right. Because if the franchisees, they're interviewing you while you're interviewing them. And this is how this whole thing goes. It goes both ways. So once they've talked to the existing franchisee, once they've got a real good handle on everything, then we give them a document pack. Then we book them an induction training. Now you go into induction training for 2 days. It's very high quality, very to the point. There's very little waffling in our training. It's really to the point. This is how you run a business properly. This is how you succeed. This is how you make money. So you go to that meeting and to that 2 days of training. After that, you can sign something, right? So how's that for transparency? So every one of my franchisee does induction training before they sign anything. And the reason I quite like that we don't need to give our system or keep our prices or our system a secret is, first of all, we're too big to keep a secret, right? 5,800 franchisees and their partners and their lawyers and their accountants and people they know all know. So that's not much of a secret for very long. So we can be completely transparent. And we can also be transparent because it works, right? There's a reason there's 5,800 franchisees. Sorry, Joel, it's not just your videos, right? It's other reasons, right? It's in your marketing. It's other reasons too. The system, I think, and the reason I invested is the fairest, most balanced system and the fixed fees. And the reason I love the fixed fees is because I don't want to be anyone's boss.
And the also people, if they're listening to this, you can actually check out. Robert's done more interviews, but his franchisees have done them as well. And I know you mentioned Corbin before. Corbin was great. There's a lot of this stuff online as well. And we do find that the best prospects actually watch a lot of content before or during the process as well, not just to hear it from Robert or myself. They hear it from the franchisees directly at their own pace, which you can do. We've actually got a few NZ Handyman. I think we've done building maintenance in the past as well. So check out the Jim's Group NZ channel. And Robert, I put that claim online so Jim can give me a pay rise maybe soon, maybe one day. But I think we do find that 99% of people who come to the new training have watched at least something, which is really important because I think, especially if you're going to, obviously franchisees coming into your region, Robert, they've got to get along with you as well. And I think that's important as a franchisor. They've got to see if they can gel with you. And the great thing about watching this is they can watch this and then, inquire, and you're going to get what you're hearing right now is exactly what Robert's going to be like. Hope you're enjoying the podcast, and sorry for the interruption. This is the host, Joel Kleber. I've got a real quick favour to ask you. We've had more than 50,000 downloads across our podcast over the years, but not many reviews. So we just need people to take the time to do us a favour. And if you enjoyed the podcast, leave us a review on iTunes or Spotify. Really helps the show. Now back to the podcast. So Robert, do you want to now talk about territory? So how does territory work in gyms and how does territories work in your regions?
So there's two aspects to this. One is that I restrict the amount of territories. Like to give you an example, in Auckland, I've got 2 territories available. That's it.
Right.
So there's Takapuna Devonport and there's the Te Atatus. That's it. That's the 2 territories I've got. Everything else is sold out. And once these 2 go, you can't buy Jim's Handyman in Auckland. So what does that do to the value of each individual business? Puts it up, right? Supply's just been reduced. And that's on purpose. Now, I've got 35 territories in Auckland, but I'll only ever sell a maximum of 25. Right? So that's my commitment to the franchisees. In Wellington, there's 15 territories. And when I say Wellington, I'm talking about the Hutt all the way up to Levin. There's 15 territories. I'll only ever sell 10. And as what's happened in Auckland, because we've only got 2 territories, the size of the team is why we're at the top of Google. Right? We spend more per month than anyone else, and that's why.
Yeah.
So we spend a similar amount of money in generating leads in Auckland a month as does Builderscrack. So that tells you something. So in Wellington, I've only got 4 franchisees right now. I need another 6, but then that's it. And if you got 10, when I've got 10 franchisees in Wellington, Wellingtonians who need property maintenance will not be able to avoid our brand, just like they can't avoid our brand in Auckland. And it's a similar case in Christchurch. So that's 80% of the population. And I really need to start thinking about the regions now. This is something else we should talk about. The regions, like if you come into New Plymouth, there's 2 people can go in New Plymouth. That's it. And once you got New Plymouth. So if you want to be at the top of Google in your town and you're the only one, like in say a Rotorua, I put 1 person in Rotorua, your Jim's Handyman Rotorua, end of. And that leads you on to another subject we haven't talked about. On top of leads, we also have a thing called Jim's Contracts, which generates commercial work that comes to you as well. And that's particularly important for the regional guys. I'll give you an example. We do all the repairs for deliveries for one of New Zealand's main retailers. When they deliver stuff, they scrape walls. Well, the other week, their truck hit a bit of guttering. We go in behind them and fix these things. So that just comes to you too.
Right.
So there's some extra work there. Now, territories. The second aspect of territories is that your territory is sure it's your home base and you get the lead, you get first right of refusal on the lead. If your leads are on your territory, those leads come to you, obviously. And remember before I talked about you wanting your customers as near you as possible to be efficient. So you get that. And also your territory is your primary asset, which is actually your customer base is your real territory. Leads, sure, territory, and geographically the leads bounce to the nearest territory. But your real territory is your customer base. There's no restriction on you can work. So in some systems, I was blown away by this. And one of our main competitors, if you're on the North Shore, and they give you a referral to West Auckland, you've got to hand it off to another franchisee.
Right.
Bugger that, right?
Yeah.
You've generated the lead. You've generated the referral. You go to West Auckland, do it yourself. That person in West Auckland is now in your territory effectively because it's in your database.
Let's be clear with that because I think it's a great point. Let's be clear on this because I think when prospects looking at franchise, not just looking at one, they're looking at multiple. And I think that
hopefully, but many don't, unfortunately.
Yeah,
they should. Yeah,
they should. But let's just say because I think that's a really important part of the gym system is that you can take work from pretty much if you've got a territory. It really doesn't overly mean I guess a lot in gyms, but like you can take work from anywhere. So if you're generating referrals here or whatever, as you said, you don't have to call the call center and check if it's in your territory or pass it off. That's your customer regardless. So you can actually literally put yourself down for all areas and take work from anywhere, which I think is a really unique part of how we work compared to other franchise systems.
What matters is that the customer's name's in your database. Once they're in your database, they're your customer.
Yeah, as a pickup.
If they ever ring the 0800, ever talk to anyone else in the business, they'll be looked up. And even if you stumble across another franchisee some years later, and they look you up, they go, oh, I can see you're Joel's customer here. I've got to send you back to Joel. Yes. Now, also that's important from commercial work. Like, for example, one of the guys does maintenance in petrol stations for one of the main brands. Well, where his territory is, it's got nothing to do with it. Right? So, and also you can go to Wellington to help your brother's cousin's mate. And that person in Wellington is now part of your territory in Auckland. It doesn't matter where they are.
Yeah, that's
the way it needs to be in this business.
Yeah, you do the hard work and you generate the referral and you've done all that. You enter them as a pickup. That's your customer. And that's the way it should be. And I think territory, a lot of people on the outside of franchising get really hung up in territory and they think you can't go and work outside your territory. You're restricted to this boundary. And it's not the case. So I think that's a really important point, Rob, to point out.
Anyone who restricts where you can work geographically, anyone who invoices the customer before you get the cash, and these are two things you got to stay away from.
Yeah.
These are limiting your ability to succeed. It's evening out the playing field. So even the worst franchisee's got as good a chance as you have as the best franchisee. That's crazy.
Well, if you don't have to win the customer, it's not really a franchise. You're basically a subby, right? And this is the thing. There's a lot of franchise models who under the guise of operate as a franchise, but they're basically charging 40% sometimes or 30% of the job that they're distributing via a call center, all because obviously they qualify the client or whatever. But like, is that really worth 30-40% of the job, whereas you can get the lead yourself and actually win it and build a business? So I think it's quite amazing that people, when they look at systems, sometimes don't get it how good the gym system is compared to some of the other models that are out there. And you'd know the models in NZ that are available.
I touch wood, right? I've never lost an inquiry to one of the competitors.
Oh, that's great.
It's never happened. I've had people not do it, of course.
Yeah.
Plenty, because usually they either haven't got the guts to leave their job, like, right. They got their job.
Can I just talk about that then, Robert? Because you mentioned an important thing then. Pay for work guarantee. So it's something we haven't talked about yet, but that is to really help people get over that fear of leaving a job. So do you want to actually talk about the pay for work guarantee? Because it's designed especially for those people. Yeah.
So I'm very motivated to give you the work. So what I do is, instead of having these many thousands of liability out here, what I do is I put that front load it. And when someone starts, like I just had TA. TA's a qualified builder. He just started in Mount Wellington. So I pick all the postcodes around him and I just fatten the spend. Right? And he's busy. Bang, straight off the gate. I just had Neil come into Massey, same thing. That was a bit exceptional. He got a 17 grand job on his first day, but that doesn't normally happen. But he's got, I just preload exactly where they are, spend extra money so that there's no need for paperwork guarantee. They both turned over. I can tell you, I don't think I'm letting it out of the bag here. They both turned over more than 10 grand in their first month.
That's great.
So that's better than being on pay for work guarantee, because you're actually making money. It's more positive. Pay for work guarantee is like a safety net, and it's absolutely there. And this is the second reason people don't do it. And this is the person who loves pay for work guarantee. It's often the wives or the husbands, but the wives in trades generally. I'd love to have a female handyman. If you're out there, especially a female builder, I'd love to do that. It'd be great. But most of them are men, and the wives have a big say, obviously. And what I generally find is the wives of builders do love that salary. But what I say is, bring your wife to the meeting with me, because it's her future too, right? And you need to get it firsthand. And I will give anyone the Pepsi challenge that 6 months in, they're practically giving me hugs and Thank you so much.
No, I've interviewed some of your
All the
franchisees.
time this happens.
I've interviewed some of your franchisees, and they brought their wives on the calls, and they're very appreciative. But I do think that is hard. You know, you've been on a fixed salary for every month or every fortnight, and people really get hung up on the pay for work guarantee and really go into detail about it. But I can tell you this right now, you know yourself, Robert, it's hardly ever paid out because it's not needed. And that's the beauty of gyms, is that you come in, it's the incentive of you to to get people busy, not to sell in areas where there's no work, because you're physically paying for it out of your own pocket. So prospects should understand that as well.
I do have one caveat on that.
Right.
Auckland, Wellington, Christchurch, any builder, plug in, handyman, plug in, you're good. No worries. But the times I had paid it out, the first guy I got into Hamilton, his first 2 weeks.
He was the only guy there, right? It was the new person.
He was the only guy there. We hadn't been there before.
No brand awareness.
Mowing, cleaning, test and tag, gold wash, they were all there.
Yeah.
Power wash, car grooming, they were all there.
Yeah.
But we hadn't been there yet. This is a while ago. And so he needed a couple of weeks. The first guy I ever put into Tauranga, he needed support his first couple of weeks. So there you go. It is there. And in the regions, you're more likely to want to take advantage of pay for work guarantee, because what I found in the regions is it's a cold start and you just need to get that turning over, you know.
I'm just going to jump in real quickly as well for people, and you can tell about this, but to do the pay for work as well, it's not a free hit of money. You have to do stuff to promote your business in the area. So we basically pay you to build your business, right, Robert? So you've got all these services, you know, these things in their contract that says you have to do. Do you want to actually talk about maybe some of the things that they have to do, which even though it's not claimed by many, like, because I think people get this thing, it's like when I see the franchise, they go income guarantee and think it's a free cash. But as Jim says, it doesn't help you in the long run if you're just getting that, because you're not building your business. So we actually, the way it's designed, for those that don't know, you're actually paid to build your business if you need that option.
Well, the way I put it is you need to be doing the things you should be doing anyway.
Yes. And you get paid from it if you need to. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. I mean, if you start a business, if you're somebody who wants to sit on the couch, don't start a business, get a job. Right? Honestly. I tell people all the time, you know, I have to tell people, look, sorry, I really think you should stay where you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my opinion. I'm honest with people, you know, because there's no need for skullduggery or mucking about with this. It either fits like a glove and it's really good for everyone, or it's not. If you don't have enough work yet, what you want to be doing is visiting property managers. This is what I do. We go and introduce ourselves to the property managers physically. We walk into the place. Right? Yeah. I usually go with them when they start, because a lot of the builders aren't comfortable with this sort of stuff. So I go with them. Yep. I'm very comfortable with it. Yep. And I show them how to do it. And it's very effective. You know, if there's 5 property managers in your area, we'll generally get 2 first go.
Perfect.
And then the other 3, we have a plan to get them over time. You go to the local school and offer to do work for them for free if they put you in the newsletter. I like that one. It really works. Man, the phone starts ringing. People, they see something come from school, people just trust it. And they tend to call. So getting in the newsletter by doing work for your local school, you can go and give a quote to someone. You can do a review of someone's house. So you can offer to come. I'm going to tell you all the things that need fixing around here, and I'm going to give you a rough idea what each one is. You can claim. You can claim for that, right?
Yeah.
So what you're doing is you're out there promoting your brand. Like the local, you can go to a local sports place and say, "Oh, I'm going to fix that piece of the club rooms, but I want you to put a hoarding up for me." You know, there's all these things you can do, and it's all things you'd want to do anyway. And with us, you pay for work while you're doing it.
It's a great system.
But you won't need it.
But you won't need it, and it's a great system. And as Jim always says as well, he's never known a franchisee to fail who does the pay for work guarantee. So it's there as a safety net. It's generally something people get hung up on, is about the income guarantee, as you can imagine. But as you know yourself, it's very rarely paid out by any franchisors in the gyms group because it's not needed. And I think that's really important for people.
But it is
to know.
there.
It is there as a safety net for sure. Now, is there anything about the building maintenance division, Robert, that you want to say to an end before we finish today?
Yeah. Okay. So really, when you boil it down to it, this is why you do it. You get more opportunities to quote, so you're collecting more customers. You're closing more of those customers, and we talked about that because just being part of the brand will up your close rate by 10, 20%.
Yeah.
And then I coach you on how to be better at closing those deals. And that's ongoing. Weeks, months, years, I'm making you better and better all the time, coaching you on how to make sure you get your close ratio up. And the reason your close ratio is so important, and this is a great luxury that the builders need to know, you can absolutely sack a customer, right? You put so much energy into your worst customers, get rid of them and put that energy into your best customers. right? Because what we want to end up with, what each builder wants to end up with, is 1,000 good customers, because good customers know other good customers, right? And let's just call them difficult customers. They know other difficult customers, right? So someone goes, oh, price. I'll go to Builderscrack, catch you later.
Yeah.
If you want it done properly, if you want it done on time, and you want it done at a market rate, we're for you. You want a guaranteed warranty, we're the people to talk to. And once you're in there, it's like finding a good mechanic. Once they find you, you'll be with them you have a customer forever.
Absolutely.
Right. And that's the key, because repeat referral work, there's less pressure on time, there's less pressure on money. A lead is really just putting a quote. The market wants a quote. Repeat referral, this is what we're after, and this is what builders enjoy. And we're going to help you make that happen a lot quicker at a lot higher value. So you're getting more chances to quote and collecting more customers. You're closing more of those quotes, and you're doing it at a higher price. So some of the independent guys say they charge $35 an hour. I don't even know how they survive. Right? That's ridiculous. Right. So the rule of thumb, and of course, this is a good example, the franchisees choose their own pricing. And what happens over time is they go, oh, I'm so busy, Rob. I'm too busy. I can't find another right employee or something. I'm like, yeah, I've got a solution to that. Put your price up. Right. You keep putting your price up. If your close ratio is 90%, you're way too cheap. Way too cheap. Right. So you keep, one of the guys, Ed, who's a qualified builder in Mount Albert, he coined the phrase, which I really like, is do half the work at twice the price. Right. The independence, and when you buy yourself, you have to take every deal because that's the only deal you got. But when you got access to a constant flow of new customers, we give everyone a great service. We've got to do that because of our reputation. But someone mucks you around, wants all kinds of stuff for free, doesn't want to pay you, got a little red flag in the system. So if they call back, well, either give them to someone else or flag them or say, sorry, we're booked out. This is a fantastic luxury, right? But it's actually sound business as well to do this. And a lot of the guys really struggle with it at first, but once they get the idea of it, you're meeting more customers, you're winning more quotes, and you're charging a higher price. These three things add up to why my guys, and this is coming from the independents I talk to on a constant basis, as far as I know, and it's a tough claim to make, but they're probably making at least twice as much as an independent. Twice as much.
You wouldn't surprise me.
Bottom line, after fees and everything.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. And then the other thing that's, there's other things that are generic, just the franchises, not just us, which is getting out and meeting those other franchisees. Like you were saying, do they like the franchisor? Can we get on? What about getting on with the existing franchisees? Are they a good bunch of people? Because if you're in Ellerslie and the guy in Pakuranga is upsetting people, we can't have that. It's affecting you, what you're investing in. So that's why we have the golden rule. The only way to muck this up for a builder is if you're really bad with customers, if customers just don't like you, don't do it. Get a job, stay where you are, work for someone else. But if you got a little bit of ambition and you got a little bit of business acumen, we can work with that and we can make you someone with a lot of business skill and a lot of customer acumen. Because some of the guys come in with a lot of trade ability and low business acumen. I've got some handymen that have high business acumen and low, good enough trade skills, but they train and they work on this. And I've had a few guys actually do their LBP while they're with me. So all the options are there, because what you want to do, obviously, is as quick as we can, is have a business where the franchisee has high business acumen and high trade skills. But different people need different coaching and different resources and different help. So depending on, it doesn't matter who you are, we can get you to the promised land, which is you're working your own hours, you're making really good money, you're building an asset, so you got something to sell at the end of it, and you're actually enjoying yourself. And, an example of enjoying yourself that builders I know really enjoy is with us, you have an excuse to have every tool under the sun. So some of the tool collections are epic, if you want to, right? And you pick your own brand. And that's something we haven't covered. Also, we are obviously, because we're such a big company, we get incredible buying power. And this is something I really like about gyms, and it goes hand in hand with the fixed fees. 100% of supplier discounts go to the franchisees. Yep. We don't take a kickback. We don't take a retention. They take me to rugby probably once a year. Bunnings I'm talking about. But when you walk into Bunnings, you pay the price. You get the best discount of anyone. Now, the buying groups with many, many thousands of members get a similar buying power that we do, except for you at gyms, there's no fees. So you go to the buying group, you pay all kinds of fees, monthly fees for that. We don't have that, right? So you get 100% of supplier discounts. You walk into Bunnings, and we also have specialist people. Like we were one of the specialist locksmiths last night getting some training in the meeting. But everyday stuff, you go into Bunnings because you can get everything you need in one visit. We've had all kinds, you might save $20 a metre if you go to a specialist across town, but, especially at the moment, $3.50 for diesel, you've got to be efficient in this business. And one of the things is you've got to limit the kilometres you do. And that's why you want to take the leads and your customers closer and closer to yourself as you mature your customer base. Most of the guys operate in a zone, which is usually about 20 minutes drive from where they live in every direction. That's where you leave the leads on just for that area so that you're getting closer and closer to home as you go. And if you have some distant customers and you don't want to travel to them anymore, you can sell that customer to one of the other franchises. I'll help you, but you're two businessmen that own your own business. You decide. I don't stipulate to the guys what they have to do.
Great information. So, Robert, for people to learn more, what do they need to do? Call you, or they need to get in touch via the website? What do you want them to do?
The easiest thing to do is call 0800 454 654, which is the 0800 number on all the gym's websites and Facebooks and stuff. And the reason you do that is because I want the people to experience the call center.
Yep.
Right. For example, the call center is, I used to manage a call center and never got anywhere near the stats that we get. Right. I mean, I love it when you ring up and it goes, your waiting time is 3 seconds. I love that. And so you experience that. That's why it's the best way to go. You'll see the quality of the call center. And you tell them, I want to speak to the franchisor in New Zealand. They'll send your information to me and I'll be in touch within 24 hours. Usually a lot quicker than that.
A lot quicker. I can assure you it'll be a lot quicker. So,
well, what I find with the people who are serious and can do it and want to do it, what they tend to do is they chat to me, they meet with me, they meet the guys, they go to training and they start. Anyone wants to muck around or they're easily turned off, they're probably not going to do it anyway.
Well, they can look at all the stuff online as well. They can go and look online and when they're ready to come to you, they're ready. But I think everything you've outlined here, if you're a builder watching this or you're, a bit frustrated with where your business is, this system is really easy. It's quite affordable. And with everything Robert's been saying, that's what you get access to for a monthly flat fee, which is a great thing about the gym system is the model works. It's been around for more than 30 years now in NZ, and the franchisees there under your leadership are doing quite well. So, Robert, thank you very much for your time today. If people want to learn more, again, 0800 454 654, put an inquiry in, no obligation, speak to Robert, check out the podcasts, and we hope to see them in training in NZ.
Thanks, Joel.
Thank you for listening to the episode of the Gyms podcast. If you want to learn more about the Gyms Group, head to gyms.net or call us on 131 546 Australia or 0800 454 654 New Zealand. And if you did like the episode as well, please make sure you leave a review or a comment or a thumbs up or a comment on the video as well. We appreciate your support. And until next episode, we hope you have a great week.